given this image. We're going to study it and learn how to write out our answers. So let's begin. Now, down below, you're going to be asked several questions, such as providing 2 points, a line segment, array, so forth and so on. So let's start looking at that. So we know that a point is any location in a plane or on a line, such as these dots, and are typically labeled with a capital letter. When we go down and look at a line is represented either we've seen some images where we have the cursive letter, which we have here in our image. If we look above, you can see that we have 2 lines, line N and line M. We represent that written differently too. We've learned that a line is 2 points and we have arrows at opposite ends. In reality, there's multiple points on a line, but we're just representing line E and F in this image. And then we have the geometric symbol above the E and F. We have a line with 2 arrows. And as you can see where it's written as or, you can either write the E first or you can write the F first. It doesn't matter. Now, we also learned with line segments is 2 points on a line. This is a line where it's extended in both directions, but a line segment is 2 points on a line. And how we represent that geometrically is with a line over top. And again, you write the A first or the B first, it doesn't matter. So if we were looking at points on this image, we could either label D, we have A, B, C, E. These are all points on this particular image. Now, to write a line, we could select either write line M or N. We have those here that are down below. Or we could write the entire line, whether it be this one or this one, using the symbols represented would be the way to write it. A line segment, you could either select these 2 points, A and B, they're 2 points on the line, or you could select these 2 points here. And remember, when we're writing it out, keep in mind that a line segment, remember, that's just a bar over top without the arrows. So just recap those lines. We have a line segment, which is 2 points on a line, and it's written with a bar over top. And those 2 points, and you can either write the A first or you can write the B first. When we go down to a line, remember a line has the 2 arrowheads that will be atop of your letters, and you can write the E first or you can write the F. Now, when we represent a ray, make sure you include that underneath of your arrowhead with a symbol, or you can simply write just B, it being the end point with your arrowhead. Looking at our image, we have 4 here represented. You could either start with a D, an A B, or a C as the end point. So the point has to be the end, and the opposite end must be an arrowhead. That will represent your ray. Another question will ask you to represent an opposite ray. So an opposite ray is when you have a point that is shared between 2 rays. So looking at this one, so it says 2 rays are considered opposite if they have the same end point, but continue on in opposite directions. So this is the way you're going to represent it. Whatever this shared point is, when you're writing it out, you must write that letter first, as you can see below. B and A and B and C are opposite rays. Now, if we go back to our image, we can see that one would be represented as B and A, and the other opposite ray is B and C. And again, how we write that would be written like this. So far, we covered 2 points, 1 line segment, 1 ray, and 1 pair of opposite rays. Now let's go over to the other side, where we're going to include a plane, 3 collinear points, 3 coplanar points, intersection of lines N and M, and an intersection of plane T and L. So let's begin that. Now, in this image, we have 2 planes, and they are labeled by the letter T and also by the letter L. So here's T and L. And we learned that's usually written in a corner of a plane when we're identifying those. Okay, so what is a plane? Let's review. So a plane, it's just a flat surface. And if you notice, there's several points here, but they're non-collinear. So what is collinear? Well, when we go back to our image, these 3 points here, we have A, B, and C, which are all on the same line. Those are collinear. Now, if we were to represent 3 points that were not collinear, then we would pick out 3 points that were not on the same line. So that would be this one, and this one. Okay? Now, the way we label these planes or name them, as you can see down below, it says plane P. So that's one way to name it. Now, we can see these planes, how they're labeled. This one's labeled as P and Q, Q being the blue, and P being the, I guess, the pink or red. You can see on the right side, these 2 planes do not intersect, but the planes on the left side do. And how do we describe when planes, whatever their intersection point is, it's based on a line. So we do have that question on our midterm. So the midterm question is, what is the intersection of plane P and plane L? So based on this image, it's telling you it's the line that intersects the 2 planes. So when I look at my image here, I could say, well, it looks like for these 2 planes, it's line L that's intersecting these 2 planes. Well, the intersection of 2 lines is identified by a point. So for lines A and B, the point is O. When it comes to planes, it's a line that intersects, and this particular line is M. So the intersection of these 2 points is point B. That's the intersection of line N and M. The 2 lines, when they cross and hit each other, it is at point B. With our 2 planes in this image, we have plane T, which is labeled as T in blue, and plane L, which is labeled as L in the purple one. Now, the intersection point of those 2 planes is your line N, which is in orange. Now, when we have to answer these 2 questions, 3 collinear points and 3 coplanar points, let's look at the collinear as represented by A, B, and C. They're on the same line, If we were going to look at coplanar, we could look at plane L and points D, A, B, C. They're all in that same plane. But however, we could not list E because E is part of plane T, which is in purple. Now to look at this part of the midterm, let's kind of define perpendicular, parallel, intersecting lines in a vertex. So if we look at this, we know the 2 lines that cross and meet at some particular point, we know that they're intersecting. If there are 2 lines that do not intersect at all and are the same distance apart, then they are parallel lines. So you can see the first one's intersect, but perpendicular means it's the same thing as an intersecting line. It does have 2 lines that meet a particular point, but when they meet, they create a 90-degree angle. So that's perpendicular. So you can see the differences between the perpendicular and intersecting. Intersecting, when they meet at a point, they do not create 90-degree angles, but perpendicular does. So that's intersecting, parallel, and perpendicular. When we are examining an angle, remember that is 2 arms that will meet at a point. And this is arm with a point A on that first arm. There's a point B on the second arm, and they meet at point O, which creates your vertex. And where those 2 lines meet is where the angle is created. So looking at this example, we can see we have 2 perpendicular lines which create these 90-degree angles. And how do we represent that? I will write the answer over here on the right-hand side. So sorry about this writing tool. you can see you can write BL, 2 points on a line, is perpendicular to AL. That's me choosing the one that's highlighted in blue. So it doesn't matter if you selected the one that's in blue or in purple, either one would work. I selected the purple one and wrote the angle of BLA. You could select that one, or you could select, you can write it as ALB. It doesn't matter as long as the L is written in the middle. Or you could select the one in blue, which is ALG or GLA. It doesn't matter. And you can see the one angle with a vertex with the center point of K. You could either pick CKD, you could pick DKH, or you could even pick LKH. You can see the 3 different colors. There are 3 different options. Just make sure the K is written in the middle. Name one pair of intersecting lines. Remember, when 2 lines cross over at a particular point, they are intersecting. So I just selected A and E and G and D, and the point that intersects is at L. And the last question is, what kind of angle is CHL? We know that that would be a right angle, and here is our. Now we're going to represent angles, whether it be adjacent, complementary, and down below we have vertical and supplementary. For adjacent, remember that when you have 2 angles that are created, which is down in this region, when these angles are created, there is an arm that is shared. So the first one is written as, and this one's written as, and again, you could write AOQ or QOA. It doesn't matter as long as you're writing the O as the center point. The complementary, as you can see, there's 2 angles here. So I highlighted the region incorrectly. Please refer to the text box for the 90-degree angles that add up to make the correct complementary. When it becomes vertical, remember, it'll create the letter. You can think of it 2 V's hitting each other's corners, or you can think of it scissors, or you can think of it as a big X. Supplementary is 180 degrees. So whatever 2 angles, so you got a straight line and the shared arm that divides it. These 2 degrees will create a 180-degree angle. And lastly, on this video, because I only get 15 minutes free, so I have to continue the remainder of the video on part 2. Translation is when the image shifts. Reflection, when it's reflecting over a red line, and rotation